What is up, my friends? It is the day after the night before. The Reds beat Newcastle by 3 goals to 2. I'm going to take you through the very latest in Liverpool's pursuit of Mark Guéhi, as he has made one thing very clear. We're going to speak about Alexander Isak and the likelihood of that deal happening. Hint, I'm feeling pretty good about it. We'll talk about Harvey Elliott and Costa's futures, a couple of words from people around last night's game, and a couple of other interesting bits and pieces that we hope should keep you right up to date. You know the drill. I'm going to do my part, but I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Drop a like if you enjoy it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're recording episode 3 of the Anfield Agenda podcast today. That will be out at 11 p.m. tonight for members, and it'll be out everywhere else, including Spotify, at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. Right, let's get cracking. So David Ornstein said, Anfield is Mark Guéhi's chosen destination. So nothing really changed there. He wants us, despite Manchester City's interest in him. Now, one thing to keep an eye on here, of course, is Crystal Palace making a move for Akanji, a Manchester City player, so that could help them bring in the reinforcements needed before Mark Guéhi moves. David Ornstein spoke a little bit about Harvey Elliott. This is what he had to say. Harvey Elliott is one to watch over the coming days. There's interest from RB Leipzig, while there are also suitors in the Premier League and elsewhere. Given that Liverpool do not have a plethora of players in Elliott's position, it is not certain he will go. Well, we might not have a plethora of them, but we certainly have one more since we bought Florian Wirtz in. So we've got Wirtz, I guess it depends where you're looking at Elliott to play. Wirtz, Jones, Szoboszlai. I mean, I think we have enough, but we could do with another forward. Guess who that's going to be? Most likely, at least according to my information today, Alexander Isak. Ornstein has said if Newcastle manage to strengthen satisfactory and Liverpool submit an offer that they deem suitable, it's possible a move will happen before the cut-off point. He said there are no ifs or guarantees as to how it ends, and it could go down to the wire. Look, my information today is that the Newcastle stance inside of this is very much softening because Isak has told them in no uncertain terms he doesn't want to be reintegrated. He doesn't want to play for Newcastle again. And despite the overtures towards him from the Newcastle ownership group, he doesn't want to be there. And he's told them exactly that. Right, let's talk about Liverpool's forwards in the opening 2 Premier League matches, because we might not have enough of them, but they're certainly doing their part. Mohamed Salah has had a goal and an assist. Cody Gakpo a goal and 2 assists. Ugo Ekitike 2 goals and an assist. Federico Chiesa a goal, and of course young Rio, you don't need me to tell you, a hell of a goal last night to win the game. Ben Bochak has made a really good point around Curtis Jones. Now, lots of people in our chat last night were going in on Curtis Jones, but then again, they always do. And I'm not blaming our community, but people who come in our match days seem to have an agenda against Jones. I've been somebody that hasn't been overly excited by Jones' presence for the last few years, but I would be a liar if I told you I hadn't seen a marked improvement in him over the past year under Arne Slot. Ben said, I don't think Curtis Jones is getting the plaudits he deserves for his performance yesterday. He won 7 out of 7, so all of his duels, completed 100% of his dribbles, and had 2 out of 2 of them, 89% passing accuracy, and his final ball could have been a little bit better on 1 or 2 occasions. But as you can see, the underlying numbers from Curtis' game weren't too bad. Jamie Carragher, speaking about the Isak situation, has said this: I think Newcastle should sell Isak. We had this with Fernando Torres at Liverpool when he didn't really want to be at the club. He ended up staying and we sold him in the January. That 4 or 5 months was a nightmare for the club and everybody couldn't wait for him to move on. Now remember, this is from a player who was there at that time. And this is what I've continuously said over Isak. It's going to be a dark cloud over Newcastle, never ending until he moves on. So for me, I've always said the sensible thing to do is sell. Fabrizio Romano said, despite reports of Manchester City and more clubs moving for Mark Guéhi, situation hasn't changed. Liverpool is his favourite destination. He wants Liverpool. Talks still ongoing for a deal to happen before the end of the window. If not possible with Palace, Liverpool will be on it for 2026. I think we will get that one done as well, by the way. Palace looking to bring in reinforcements, and if last night and the first game of the season told us one thing, it's we need to book up our ideas on the right side of central defence. So, here's a stat for you. Arne Slot came out last night and spoke about that barely being a football match, and I totally understood where he was coming from, very stop-start, but I didn't realise that the ball was only in play for 40.8% of last night's game, which is the lowest in the Premier League since 2010. Arne Slot said after the game, I'm not too sure if I saw a football match today. It was set piece after set piece, long throw after long throw. Alex Crook has said this: I still think we will see another bid from Liverpool for Isak, a British record offer between now and next Monday. I think they're going to test Newcastle's resolve, and we know Newcastle are firing darts in terms of strikers into the club. They're still keen to sign Visa. They had a rejected offer for Larsson, but another offer is coming in. I'll tell you about that one in a moment. They've also been offered the chance to sign Dusan Vlahovic from Juventus. So if they can get a couple of those over the line, guess what's likely to happen? You know. Right, Lee Ryder said Newcastle United Supremo Yasser Al-Rumayyan attempted to convince Isak to stay after the meeting that took place at Alexander Isak's home. But the Swedish international is sticking to his guns and wants to leave the club. Fabrizio Romano said Isak is still fighting to join Liverpool. He is, and he puts in all caps, pushing. Let's talk about Newcastle now. They're still in talks for Strand Larsen. The deal is still on, said Fabrizio Romano. But we can go a little bit further on that one in a moment because Magpie Media thinks there's close to an agreement. I'll get to that in 1 second. So Oliver Glasner said Mark Gay has to stay at Crystal Palace, at least for the second leg of the Europa Conference League qualifier against Fredrikstad on Thursday. But equally, Palace are reluctant to lose their captain as a free agent. So, as you can see here, this is all just waffly talk. They know they can't lose him for nothing. I don't think Liverpool can wait, should wait, or should have to wait until he plays on Thursday. We need to look after our own interests and at least give us something to think about before the game against Arsenal, because Kanade, in my opinion, and I'm sure in a few others, should not be playing that game because his head just isn't right. Chelsea are demanding that Liverpool pay compensation for Rio Ngamoa after he left for free last year. A decision by a Premier League panel has not come to fruition yet after almost a year. Right, let's move on to Luke Edwards now of The Telegraph. And these stories are going to just increase, by the way, folks, over the next few days. So make sure you do have your notifications turned on. We will be giving you as many updates as we can. And of course, if you haven't yet, do join the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp. Scan the QR code there on the screen. Join the 13,000 other Liverpool fans who've signed up. We put in the link for the player ratings videos. We give you polls. We give you topics for videos we're going to discuss. We give you the chance to help shape the future of your community. Right, Isak remains adamant he wants to leave Newcastle, said Luke Edwards of The Telegraph, despite the intervention of chairman Yasser Al-Rumayyan, who is keen to broker a deal that leads to the striker remaining at the club. Telegraph Sport understands that Isak has repeated his desire to be allowed to join Liverpool. The PIF delegation, along with co-owner, met with the player at his home on Monday, but there does not seem to have been any progress made in getting the player to return to training. That's because he doesn't want to. Right, the difference in this season and last season defensively is crazy post Nihad LFC. Last season, the first 3 matches of the Premier League, Liverpool scored 5 and conceded 0, created 7.09 XG and conceded 2.36. In the first 2 matches so far this season, Liverpool have scored 7 goals and conceded 4, created 2.9 XG and conceded 2.68 XG. Not great, but at least it's 6 points from 6. So, Costas, let's talk about him for a moment. The Athletic have said that there is talk in Italy that Liverpool could demand between £6 and £8 million or €8 and €10 million for Costas. The Reds have set their asking price, with Serie A side Roma pushing to try to sign him. According to La Repubblica, talk is intensified between the two clubs and a verbal agreement is already in place. The Athletic reported yesterday that the Italian outfit had registered their interest in the Greek fullback on loan. Craig Hope of the Daily Mail has said Isak is not affected by the noise. He remains intent on moving to Liverpool. Alexander Isak has no plans to reintegrate or play again for Newcastle, said Ben Jacobs. Also, Isak, this has been made clear in meetings for months to the Newcastle hierarchy. Player position might not change at all, but certainly not with the window open. Isak would only consider a softened stance if Liverpool tell him a move is impossible this summer. Liverpool won't offer anywhere close to £150 million. If the second bid arrives, the club know they're the only suitor and will stick to their valuation should a deal present itself. So like we said all the way through, £150 million is a figment of somebody in Newcastle's imagination. Liverpool somewhere between 120 and 130, like we've reported all the way through. Here's the Magpie Media bit about Strand Larsen. Major breaking, they report. Wolves are expected to agree a sale of Jørgen Strand Larsen to Newcastle for a package worth around £60 million. The Magpies are willing to increase their initial offer after positive discussions between the two clubs. Here's Jamie Carragher speaking about, well, what we all spoke about last night, namely how poor Canade has been. He said, there are people for Liverpool who've made a really poor start to the season. Mohamed Salah is one of them, even though he's got a goal and an assist. Canade is another one. He's been all over the place. I want my centre-back to go and win that challenge for Dan Burn for the equaliser. He was all over the place last week. He is more interested in grabbing his arm. He was really poor in the first half as well. He is not at the races at all. I absolutely shudder to think where Liverpool would be without Virgil van Dijk, who has been absolutely outstanding. And I don't disagree. Canade does seem to want to wrestle with his players, grabbing shirts, grabbing arms, and not focusing on actually winning the ball. Look, I was very adamant about this yesterday. I'll double down on it today. That is teenager defending. That is basic stuff. A centre-half should not be letting one straight ball over the top. One, bounce, but two, get in on top of the goalkeeper. He should be clearing that and winning the header. So we do need to sort out that situation, and whether it's the situation with Diogo Jota and how that's impacting Canade, whether it's his contract, whether it's just bad form, I don't know. But I do know it will cost us, particularly if we're playing Arsenal on Sunday and Canade starts. So that is it from me for now, ladies and gents. Loads to work through, as I'm sure you've heard. We will be back tonight at 8:45 for the late night agenda. Loads for us to go through, so I hope you can join me for it. Until then, have yourselves a wonderful day. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.